Hello, everyone, and welcome again to Doja Live. Welcome to the first of what we plan to be many diversity, equity, and inclusion discussion panels, what we're calling People Matters, and brought to you by us, Doja Live. My name is Kim Lantis, and I'm joined by America Guerrero. We're happy to be your moderators today.
Hey, hello
America.
everybody.
And we're going to introduce our wonderful panel in just a minute. But before we do, I want to talk about what today's People Matters panel is all about. So at Doja Live, we really do understand the value of diversity, knowing that every human experience and background offers a unique perspective, right, of what is essential to creating effective solutions and processes for teams, for companies, for those companies' clients. And the purpose of our regular live show has long been to bridge cultural gaps. Right? We're looking to build a global community of the movers and the shakers of the tech world. We do that by covering major trends, great companies to work for, challenges and insights. And the way we do that has been through storytelling and experience sharing, something that's really been uniting people probably for thousands of years. And as you know, or probably know, June is LGBTQ plus Pride Month. And so we've invited a very special panel of individuals who work in tech and are willing and wanting, and we're here to share their stories, to listen to their stories, and we really look forward to learning from all of you. So thank you for being here today.
Welcome everybody. Jorge Symonds, content specialist, Artemis Garcia, Fullstack developer, Thannia Blanchet, front end developers, everybody at Encora. So please, guys, could you tell me more about what motivated you to participate on today's People Matter LGBT in Tech panel?
Who
wants
goes
to start?
first?
You, Tanya, the brave one. Let's go. The teacher guy, right?
Yeah, you have the.
I'm usually the brave one, Kim. I'm very interested in promoting inclusion for everybody and a more, what's the word, equitable world. So sharing a bit of my experience here, I'm very thankful with you for inviting me. I think it's a way of achieving that goal. Does that make any sense?
It completely does. And let's talk a little bit about you being a front end developer. So it's interesting. I think here, you as a woman and as a developer also makes you a minority in another way. What brought you to tech in the first place?
I don't know. It was a long story of a chain of events, but an important thing I must mention is that the culture here at Encora, it's what it was like my main motivator to joining a software company instead of something else. And I think the environment, the work-life balance, the friends, and that it's actually a job that I enjoy. It's not a job that I hate. All that got together, and I think it gives me like my best possible life.
I love it. Thank you. Thank you. Let's go next with Jorge.
I was muted. I was about to be muted forever. What? Well, I like to talk a lot, so yep. And I understand that certain individuals' stories can be a little different from others, and I think my story is a little different. And I think Artemis's and Tania's are totally worth a shot at listening to and learning. So when I was next to two powerful and strong women, I was like, maybe I'll learn something too. So here I am.
Awesome. Thank you, Jorge. And last but certainly not least, Artemis. Tell us a bit about you and why you decided to join us today.
Hi everyone, and I'm here because I think that speaking about equality and inclusion is an important topic. And personally, me as a transgender woman, it makes it hard to talk about things sometimes. So I want to use this opportunity to speak up and try to speak loudly about what being an LGBTQ woman in tech means and what we can do to move forward and to achieve great things company in many companies and to many other people that want to get something regarding all of this topic that might be too broad for a small panel, but certainly this is a great step forward, in my opinion.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you very much. So let's go ahead and get started. We've got a series of questions that we've kind of laid out today. We're going to use those as a guideline. And I say guideline purposefully because what we really want to have today is a conversation, right? Awesome. So what's the first question, America?
Sure. So the first question is, as a member of the LGBTQ plus community, would you say it's easier, harder, or no different to pursue a career in the tech industry versus any other industry? What has your experience been? You're thinking, you're
Well,
analyzing your answer.
in my case, it's the only industry I have experience in, so it's not like I have a lot of reference. But one thing I would like to say is that I think it's one of the most like modern or forward-thinking industries. So I dare to say it might be a little bit easier than on a more traditional place. And one thing that I like a lot about here is that you're allowed to be yourself. And
Mm-hmm.
it's starting from you can dress however you want, you can have tattoos. And that extends to the other parts of your life in which you feel more comfortable being yourself.
And that
As
makes a lot of
opposed to,
sense.
yeah, as
Being
opposed to
a
what I
less
think.
formal industry to begin with, right?
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. Like a more traditional place where there are like a lot of rules and hierarchies, and then it might be harder to allow yourself to be yourself.
Maybe I don't know if any of you have. Well, first let's hear from Artemis and Jorge. Maybe if you agree, disagree from that assessment. We can also maybe experience talk to the experience of you know friends or family members or people that you have who have similar life stories like yours, but don't work in the tech industry. Maybe of what you've heard or know of others. But so far we think it's the vote is it's a bit easier, right, in tech. Yeah.
Yeah, I fully agree with Tanya. And yeah, myself, this is the second workplace I've ever been. So it's not like I have many experience, but I got many friends, and some of them talk when talking to me. They sometimes are like, "Oh, this is so strict. We are not allowed to dress the way we want to dress," or they have strict policies against certain specific things, and those policies, although they may not be explicitly homophobic, biphobic, transphobic, they certainly aren't helping to create a safe space for all kind of people, because sometimes that expression or that capability of expressing ourselves can be the first thing before we start to showing our queer side. And
Right.
yes, Tanya said I don't have that many experience for from outside tech, so it's not like I could say anything really in first hand at least.
Okay, no problem. But what we do know is that the tech industry is widely known for its ability to have a remote workforce, right? Something that I particularly appreciate also as a working mom. Um, we did see this amplify in COVID. And I'm wondering if you consider remote work maybe as some type of a game changer in terms of diversity, equity, inclusion. Do you think it's been or has it been unfavorable? Is it unfavorable or beneficial? Could it be isolating? What's your take on working from home?
I feel that well, I certainly have heard of many other transgender people that have come out during the pandemic. So I feel that being in home has allowed more people to experiment with themselves and with their presentation and their internal sense of gender, so that they can explore it. So it turns out that many people have been transitioning during this pandemic. So in that sense, remote work certainly is a plus. You can
Mm-hmm.
be wherever you want in your house. There is no limit for you.
That's true. It's absolutely true. The home is where you're free to be is yourself, right? Perfect. What's your take, Jorge?
I I would take a step back because I don't know if other than from a mental health perspective, I don't know if my queerness or like my gayness has been moved around by remote work, but I would say that the tech industry is really in a very like weird position because yes, it's a very open-ended, like very open industry that allows for a lot of innovation and a lot of like mm, new stuff to happen in it, and it's not closed and people listen. But at the same time, it's crowded with men. Like we're all around it. 90% of it is men, and naturally or like intrinsically, everyone who makes the rules, like 90% of them, are us men. So like sometimes we don't take into account other types of people, and that is something that has been changing on the past 10 years that I've been here, but it's still pretty much a reality. So we just my point, like if I could say in a sentence, is even though we're open and we listen, it is naturally done for men by men. So that's something to consider.
I think it's a really great point. And as we move forward and other People Matter shows, I think that's one. Not I think that will be right one of our topics, right? How tech relates to gender. So thank you for bringing that up. And talking about tech and just for men by men, but even so, I think it's arguably a more inclusive industry than others as we've laid out. But let's talk about the individual workplaces. I know that I think Artemis, this is where you are now is the second workplace that you've been in. But speaking to that, I wonder about inclusive workplaces. When an individual finally finds a place where they feel accepted and safe, do you feel that maybe they're more likely to settle and therefore inadvertently impact what is equity? And I say this from like my perspective as a working mom, like I said earlier. I found a place that is extremely flexible for me. It works very well for me. And so I find sometimes that I'm limiting myself to even looking at what else is out there as far as career growth or other opportunities because it's just this works. Do you think that that's something that can happen in this industry as well, or as when you finally find that safe space?
It happens. It happens because it's so hostile, the world out there, that once you find the safe place, you won't risk it. Maybe there's this other job opportunity that pays more, but you don't know if maybe they'll be racist, they'll be homophobic, they'll be sexist. You start leveraging like, am I comfortable here, or is it worth it? Is it not? I'm not sure if you settle completely in like in a professional way, but you value what you have.
Yeah.
So your priority is culture instead of the money or instead of the title. It's first the culture.
Yes, because being able to live as yourself, I personally think it's more important and more satisfactory than whatever money or titles you can have.
I feel that in the end, we tend to assign a monetary value to this discomfort. I mean, maybe you won't consider another offer if it's 30% above your current pay range because you put a value on those on that freedom, on that comfort, on that being yourself at work. And in the end it makes you it makes it seem like you are earning a lot more than you are actually getting on your paycheck because that stability, that mental healthness, that it has value, and I mean a lot of value. But yeah, I fully agree that sometimes we tend to just settle for a place that you feel that is the best, but sometimes it might not be the best. It might
Hmm.
be just that things are so bad out there that you don't want to experience them, and you end up like, this isn't so bad. So maybe I'll stay here. And that's what happened to me in my previous job. I was like, oh, this it could be worse. And I feel that we tend to settle a lot for that we could be worse instead of things are great here. And
Mhm.
that's something that I feel happens a lot with the queer community, with women, with people of color. I mean, marginalized minorities, and
Mhm.
kind of complicated issue because who
Yeah,
knows
I think
what is there outside.
I think this gives us kind of a disadvantage against white straight men who can just go picking up any jobs because they don't need to worry about this stuff. But it's also, I don't know, like a good advice for companies. Like if you treat well your minority employees, they will stay.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that actually it's a really amazing segue into what we were wanting to know about um, the value for companies. America, did you have that question?
Yes, yes. Actually, talking about um, these values, talking about workplaces, about this, what is the value that promoting and having inclusive communities brings to companies? How have you seen this play out?
So we've seen this play out in kind of like a 10-year, an extended 10-year in some ways. And of course, I don't think this is meant to be exploitative, right? It's just like, let's treat
How
the
can you
kids
make
nice so they
how can you
stay.
make your LGBTQ folks work harder for less
how,
money?
how can we extract them all their
Yes.
money?
But absolutely not. But I think in sometimes companies might think, oh, it's hard work, like Artemis was saying, this is fine. What's the harm? But I think there's a lot that can go beyond that. Like, other than extended tenure, and what does diversity and having an inclusive workplace bring to companies? What's the value?
Funny that you ask. I recently had a one-on-one with the VP of engineering for where I work, and he mentioned that the team I'm working on it's like the most diverse team that they have. Like we're people from Mexico, from Brazil, from Ukraine, from more countries that I can remember right now. And it's also the team that's doing best. And what I've read and what my experience has told me is that the more diverse individuals you have, the more the diversity of experiences you have, and that brings you more perspectives. So maybe a problem that somebody with a set of experiences doesn't see, another person with different experiences will see, and you cover more if you have more diverse people.
There's also something that might be a little bit controversial. Uh, we tend to second guess ourselves a lot because of how the industry or the workforce in general works. So we kind of polish our work a little bit more too. So like that's something that happens a lot. I've seen it with women in the workforce. Like they prepare for meetings, for example. I particularly like try to, I don't know, like I'm always like, is this good enough? So that is like a filter that we have that other people don't have because they just feel 100% comfortable, right? And that is one of the few things that can be positive about being one of the diverse folks at some place, right? Like we always have like this membrane that, or like a higher standard, I would say. And yes, it's
Like
controversial,
this
but I would like to
innate
mention it.
need to strive for excellence or something.
Yep. We work hard to get here and we're not going anywhere, so we keep working hard.
Um, yeah. And Simon, what would you suggest to better enforce inclusive policies?
I would say talk to your queers. Like I know it sounds weird, but talk to them. Just give them whatever they ask for is what they need. You can't plan stuff around people that you don't know, right? I like to set the example of Encora, for example, with our, I'm not going to say the name Artemis, but Artemis has been one of the pivotal points or the pivotal women that has created like a sense of community for us. And it's just because she started speaking out and then she put a ton of work in it. And that's because she said what she wanted and what she needed. So if you listen to the people that are part of the community, uh, that's when change happens. And this is when I send the mic over to Artemis. Hi, Artemis.
Yeah, I fully agree with what Jorge said. You need to listen to the people that are actually affected. Sometimes it might just be the first thought could be like, oh, let's just advertise and focus on hiring more LGBTQ people.
Yeah,
But
let's slam a rainbow on our company
yeah,
logo for the
but
month of
turns
June.
out that queer people won't just apply because you are catering to them. If they see the rainbow, they will be like, oh, that's nice. But that won't make them apply or try to work for you. Because even if they have a rainbow up, you don't know how they are the rest of the year. The rainbow thing is just one once in a year thing for one month. So it's not like we can fully be confident that they are acceptant or inclusive. And it's something that you need to work actively all year round, not only one month. You need to make your workspace a safe space, and making it a safe space doesn't I like to see it this way. A safe space means that it's not a safe space for bigoted people. If you are aggressive, if you are homophobic, intolerant, then LGBTQ woman POC safe space won't be a safe space for you, because you won't be allowed to discriminate. And a safe place for minorities means taking down that intolerance before it happens and making people feel uncomfortable being intolerant,
Yes.
because currently the norm, the usual, the standard is being intolerant is the thing that seems common, and that's what we don't want.
Like you can't get away with that here. What
Yeah.
are some of the ways in which you have seen this play out in the sense of policies, or the way in which the companies that you've worked with have done this right? Like, how can companies learn from things? Like, let's get into some real examples of what has made you feel safe. And it doesn't have to be anything out of this world, crazy difficult to implement, but what are some of these things that have worked?
One example that I can think about is shut down jokes or intolerant comments. If you see somebody say something that's not appropriate, and then somebody from the company that has a little bit of authority says, hey, this is not allowed, or all the other employees go down and say, hey, dude, this is not cool, that makes us feel safe because we see that we have more people to support us.
Very
And
cool.
I feel that that's where the allies could work with. Um, you could be an ally, but if you don't speak up when you see somebody being discriminated, you're not that good of an ally. Being an ally means speaking up. You need to defend people, to work with them. If you see somebody doing a bigoted comment, you need to say, hey, just as Tanya said, that's not cool. Just speak up. And I mean, there, I feel that there are more people that are not intolerant that intolerant people. And we just need that tolerant people to just talk and defend people. I said a lot of people.
I think that's one thing. What's that quote? Something about all that evil needs to triumph is for good people to do nothing. Something
Yes,
of
exactly.
that sort. Yeah.
Or
Uh,
also, in a matter of rights and discrimination, if you do nothing, then, or if you stay neutral, then
You're in the
you're
side of the
taking
oppressed.
aggressor side. There is no sides in an oppression relationship. If you do nothing, you are on the oppressor side. And that's something that is quite difficult to see, but that's what happens.
I have a question. No, I know that this is coming from like the other side of the fence, so to speak. But let's talk to the allies or those people who are ally aspiring, right? Where, what would you say to them to encourage them? Maybe some of these do's or don'ts. I know for one, I've got a lot to learn, a lot to grow, and coming from even one's own perspective of perhaps how they've been brought up religiously or in line with their own beliefs, but wanting to learn more. How can we go about striking up conversations, asking questions, you know, this willingness to maybe even embarrass ourselves and put our foots in our mouth sometimes, by God knows that I've done it. And everything, even with its like good intentions, but what are maybe some of those do's and don'ts as individuals or aspiring allies? What can we do better?
I
Talk to
think.
people. Oh, sorry.
No,
Just
go ahead, Artemis.
I mean, there could be people that like to share. So you could just talk to people and know if they are okay explaining things. Maybe they are. Some people, some of us like to talk about it, but some don't. So it's just a matter of knowing who you are talking to. If you are talking to somebody that likes to share, you could ask. And sometimes, depending on the mood, on everything, you could even ask intrusive questions, as long as the person has the confidence of and trust you to talk about that. So it's just a matter of building a relationship that is not just built around being queer, but a trusting and caring relationship. Just like with another people, you won't ask an intrusive question to a total stranger. So that's just the thing that needs to be done.
Thank you.
Definitely, I agree. What I was gonna say was in the lines of we're all like nurtured and basically taught the same things. So being queer or being LGBTQ plus does not save you from being a misogynist, does not save you from being a biphobe, a transphobe. I myself like to consider myself like a recovering homophobe, a recovering transphobe, a recovering misogynistic, because there's still some comments that I can make that can make others feel a little bit well, not a little bit. They can make them feel offended because I can say something offensive without knowing, even if I'm part of the community, because we have very different needs as individuals. So that's one thing. And the other thing is just remember as an ally that it's really not about you specifically. It's sometimes if you're in a LGBTQ Pride March, for example, it's not you being like me. This is me, the ally. It's about hey, it's this people's turn to shine and it's my turn to learn. So I need to listen. And this for me as a white cisgender male has been my own experience. So I'm sharing this as a minority, but also as an ally. Like this is not about you. This is not about me. So I'm just gonna close my mouth and I'm gonna listen. That's like my first step. And then the second step is once you're a little bit informed and brave, then you can't let certain things go. Like Artemis and Thannia said, you need to become part of the solution. You can't be a cog in the discrimination machine.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Now, we're actually coming to the sort of final few minutes of our panel today, which is really sad. Time really does fly when you are having fun. And so, what I wanted to do was sort of leave this panel in a hopeful, right, in a hopeful way. And so, this last question is really just for fun, and that is to each of you: who is your LGBTQ plus role model and why, so that those of us who are looking to listen and learn have a place to start, famous or otherwise. But hopefully they're Googleable so that we can learn from them.
That's such a
Oh,
loaded question.
yeah.
I'll start. I recently, this past, I think maybe it's been like a year-ish or so, I got because it was available on Netflix and I started out like a decade behind, literally a decade behind. But I've been binge watching RuPaul's Drag Race. And I find RuPaul to be pretty much many of the queens that are on the show are idol worthy. But RuPaul in particular, I think, is just fantastic. I'm like, wow, like he is so smart and so empathetic and so well spoken. And I don't know. It just blows me away. Like I think that his genuine care for people oozes like from his pores, and I just think it's amazing. And it makes it for a really beautiful woman. I'm like those arms. Like it blows me away. I want RuPaul's arms, everyone.
I have a very what we in Spanish call cursi answer that's not Googleable, but I will say my girlfriend because she's very unapologetic about being bi, and she always pushes people to be themselves. But if you want someone famous, I can think of Rebecca Sugar, who's the creator of Steven Universe, and they started this movement of having LGBTQ characters on cartoons, which has carried on with more cartoons afterwards. And I think it's great for kids to be able to see themselves reflected in the media.
Good point, and especially with everything that's going on right now in the media over the hubbub over Lightyear, right? We took our girls to that, and like nothing happened at all. We left, not a single question was asked. I think they were more distracted by Socks the cat than they were by anything that was happening.
Don't spoiler.
No, it's a lovely movie. I loved it
Okay.
a lot. I'm glad we watched it. Thank you, Tanya.
I'd say that currently, and I mean currently because I tend to take a liking to different people depending on the mood that I have. And I'm also really good at forgetting things. That includes the people I think greatly of. But I'd say that currently it's Hunter Schaffer, the model and actress. She's a transgender woman, and I love the way that she started doing activism, the way that she expresses herself, and everything that she's been doing currently. Like just by showing transness on a series, like the HBO series, then that's something that makes it good for me. That it makes it worth to watch because sometimes it feels like we don't get enough of ourselves on the TV, and sometimes what we get is just not good. We get people laughing at us.
Or hyper stereotyped or something.
So I feel that her portrayal of a transgender teenager, obviously in the context of a really violent series, because it's about that topic specifically, is really powerful, and it feels real. Like from the perspective of another transgender woman, feels real. Like I see myself, no, obviously not that hard because it's not like a relatable series, but it's something that I enjoy watching and feel represented.
Thank you.
I I have to use my times two card here because there's so I'm gonna go with a famous one first. Like I'm always in awe of women from like all walks of life. Women have liderated the movement since it begun with Marsha P. Johnson and especially Silvia Rivera, who's a transgender activist from a Puerto Rican and Venezuelan descent. And I just like if you see all the big movements of the I don't know 19th century, it's always been women who's been on the front trenches fighting, kicking ass, and just I don't know if I can say that, but yeah, they do kick ass.
We can say
Uh,
it.
okay, be it Black Lives Matter, be it the gay movement, be it the feminist movement, it's always been women who have shown us the way. So like if I need to pick someone famous or someone that I truly admire, it would be Silvia Rivera. And then for my times two card, I would have to pick my chosen family, I guess, which is people I have met in the street. I can say their names really quickly: Javier, Laura, Lola, Hector, Keno. Just friends who have given me like a nurturing home to be myself, to explore my femininity, my masculinity, who have questioned it lovingly, like who are you, what are you doing, why are you doing it, and that would be my answer. Like it's just once like I love my real quote unquote blood family, but also when you go out in the street and people can be mean and stuff, and you find someone that says, "Hey, let's go have a beer and just let's have fun with who we are, dancing to Monica Naranjo or whatever." That is also very valuable, and there are my role models as well.
Thank you. I absolutely love that. It's certainly quite a long list of admirable individuals that we can follow, that we can look into. And I feel like we could sit here and talk for hours, maybe even days. And we're going to get that opportunity because it is definitely not the last of our People Matters panels.
We
But
should.
yeah, talk for days, talk for hours. So maybe we'll have some what is it? What is it called when the senators and they keep talking all night long in order for a bill not to go through? Filibuster? We can filibuster this. Perfect. But for now, we are coming to the end. And I really do want to thank each and every one of you for a great show, for sharing your stories here on Dojo Live with our audience. And you're helping us, right, to be better authors, I think, of our own stories and of the stories of those around us. So thank you. I have to do this. I have to do the pitch. And that is, we do invite you to catch our regular Dojo Live interviews every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday at 12 o'clock Pacific. And of course, follow us on social media to catch our shows and news about any upcoming DEI related conversations like this one as well. Thank you again, everyone. And until next time, stay safe.